Just to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25. Toss to White. He's in! What a comeback!
All right, welcome to another episode of the 28-3 podcast. Today we're going to talk Saints head coach search. A lot of news coming out the last couple of days. You know, who's interested, who's not. I know we all have some strong opinions on who we want to be the coach. I don't think any of us are really excited about the remaining candidates. I know I'm not. I don't really have an opinion on the remaining two guys. It looks like Mike McCarthy or Kellen Moore at this point. But
it seems like it would be between them two. And, you know, it's funny. You could say things are, quote-unquote, heating up because we're getting to that point with the head coaching search, but we're only there because we're the last team standing, and we've now had two former Saints assistants who both would have been viable candidates, in my opinion, decline to even come in for an interview. So, like you said, we're left seemingly with Moore and McCarthy as the top two options. Of course, they've interviewed Weaver and Kafka, and the typical run-of-the-mill reports come out from those that things went well. Sides were impressed. You know, Kafka's obviously trying his hardest to.
We know somebody wants the job.
To get the job, I think, because he probably was like, "Oh shit, I didn't even think I'd be considered in this."
Correct,
because
his resume sucks.
Yeah.
That's why he wants the job.
Yeah.
I think, you know, the biggest indictment of this whole thing is I think the general consensus from at least most of the media folks, whether it be local or national, was that Aaron Glenn was the guy that they wanted, right?
Yeah.
He didn't even come to talk.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's some vibes going out there from somewhere in the Saints organization that was their guy. Otherwise, that consensus wouldn't have existed the way it did. I think we mentioned it, and we all thought that was the path. I'm fine with not getting him, but I think that's who Loomis wanted. He didn't even come visit.
Yeah.
It tells you a lot, I think.
Well, hold on. Let me push back on that because I don't think it does as much. Because think about it. He was drafted by the Jets in the first round. He's amazing career with the Jets. Started off as a scout there, his post-playing career. He's gone on record saying that's pretty much his dream job. I mean, the snowstorm didn't do us any favors, but he couldn't come in.
But
job,
correct.
Though? I don't know.
I don't know that
Jets, big market team. He
didn't say that beforehand. Let's just say that. Of course, you're going to say things like that after you take that job. You have to, and I totally understand the ties there as well. But if he's the guy, and you can't even get him to come visit, and that's your target, either you're misreading the situation. It's bad. Yeah. It's bad management.
Let me at least jump in on the Glenn piece because it's like we said. Before the coaching carousel started, everybody was saying Glenn to New Orleans probably makes the most sense for them, and it might make the most sense out of any of the available candidates and openings in terms of pairing. The whole idea of him with the Jets, it's like Nick said, that you didn't really hear anything about him preferring to go there until things were really narrowing down between it being the Saints and the Jets. I also think as far as NFL openings go, yeah, there's some affinity, and we've seen like Rabel going to the Patriots.
I mean, that was the easiest call of all. Everyone knew that
Antonio,
was
that should
Pierce or D'Amico Ryans with the Texans. There is some recent history of former players wanting to go coach for that team. But at the same time, the NFL has definitively not been like you see in college, where you see a guy like Kirby Smart going to coach Georgia Harbaugh. So I wasn't really buying into to Glenn with the Jets connection. I think it's more telling that when you're at that stage in your career, like Aaron Glenn, you want to go to the place that seems like the best opportunity for you to stick as a head coach. I mean, that's what I would have to assume, right? So if he's weighing what's better, the Jets or the Saints, and he's looking away from us,
I think the Saints are a better chance for him to stick. We won't fire anybody.
Right. And
he'll get fired in 2 years at the Jets.
So one part of it is wanting to stick, but then this is where the
talent situation is vastly different. The Jets are far
talent,
superior,
the cap space, but where the Glenn declining an interview for me ties in with Joe Brady declining an interview is the common denominator between both of them is that they have previously worked for Mickey Loomis under the Benson ownership, and so they know what the organization is like, more so than any other candidates that were out there. And for those two to be the first of your candidates who you were trying to get an interview with turn you down and say, no, I'm good, to me, that's much more troubling than, him deciding
just a courtesy
on another
interview
team
because you had a past relationship.
If he was truly considering it, if he thought that we were worth him weighing us or the Jets in earnest, he would have taken the interview. You have to assume that.
Even if it was even close. What if we offered him $20 million? You come take the interview.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
If they're offering him that, absolutely. But they're not offering him that.
But you don't know. What does it hurt to take an interview?
No,
Nothing.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If he was truly considering us, he would have.
Even if he wasn't, it's still leverage on the Jets for a contract. It's a whole bunch of things. There are very few reasons just not to take an interview.
Yeah. And so again, it goes back to the fact that he has worked under, obviously he was an assistant coach, so his main boss was Sean Payton, but his big boss was Mickey Loomis, and the bigger boss was Gayle. And so he's been in that spot before.
Right. I want to be clear. I didn't want him. Okay, I'm fine with it. Declining the interview is kind of crazy to me because there's no harm to Aaron Glenn for taking the interview whatsoever.
Right.
And you never know what they're going to say. You should at least hear it out.
Yeah.
In person and have the official, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting that our gauge on it was so far off from Glenn's.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's yet another indicator that as much as sources want to say they know what's going on inside of a building,
these sources are
so much.
shit.
You don't know what's going on in Aaron Glenn's head.
So much more afoot inside those walls.
And if that's where you want to be, good for him. I like Aaron Glenn. I just didn't want him here because of the ties. And we talked about it last time. I just would prefer something different.
Totally fresh.
And, we could say Brady had ties in the past, but that was very limited.
It was 1 year.
It was a very low man on the totem pole.
Yeah, he's not as egregious as Glenn.
He was like an offensive assistant for a season and a half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Peyton basically told him, go get more experience, right? And go find it. And
Peyton also told him, you're fucking stupid if you go to LSU and coach with Orgeron.
True.
And he went and did it. So it's
he's
not
like,
there's
watch this while I'll take over this whole team.
So you're saying he's smarter than Sean because it couldn't have accelerated his career more.
and the one thing I'll say,
let's be honest, though, he flamed the fuck out until he got in front of a all-pro quarterback again.
Not really. He went to the Panthers.
Right, and he flamed the fuck out. He was in and out in a year. And
half a year.
Well, I think
it's the Panthers and it's Matt Rule.
I mean,
so
there's no
who flamed out more, him or Matt Rule.
But there's no secret.
He flamed out though.
There's also no secret why the most coveted offensive coordinators, as each year comes to pass, are also ones with great talent. We're correct. So, and I don't want to shift into Kellen Moore right now, but the last thing I'll say about Joe Brady, I don't find his example, while similar to Glenn, to be as egregious because
no, it's not.
He has the same agent as Kellen Moore, and at this point, it's been obvious that the Saints have been waiting for one of those two.
Right.
So word probably got to the agent that they were a little hotter on this guy than you. Pull out, save face.
And to be honest, it makes a lot more sense for Brady as
look at Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson has set the precedent of I'm gonna hold off a year.
He pulled the Ben Johnson Jr., and I say that because Brady's been in the league a lot less. A guy like Glenn.
What I'm going to say about Brady,
his time to go.
Back to that. If you were to hire Brady, I think you're jumping the gun a little bit.
I do too.
And I would have been fine with it, take a flyer, whatever. But I think his experience is not vast. His acceleration through the ranks is meteoric. Really, he's only really been a true assistant coach for 5 years total.
He and Kellen Moore have similar trajectories because Kellen Moore was a QB coach for 1 year. Then offensive coordinator.
For multiple years. Then offensive coordinator somewhere else and offensive coordinator somewhere else.
Right, but the offenses were good in Dallas, and then he kind of was scapegoated by McCarthy a little bit. And then went to San Diego, but then they fired Brandon Staley. So.
You can't give him a pass and then say what you said about Brady. That's horseshit.
I'm not giving him a pass. I'm not excited about Kellen Moore either.
Kellen Moore, Joe Brady.
Kellen Moore and Brady are the same to me. They're both unproven as fuck, and neither of them are probably ready to be head coach.
Both are unproven. Brady is way further behind in the process than Kellen Moore as far as years.
I would agree with that.
I agree with that, yeah.
But they both their first job was under an offensive coach who wasn't going to fully release the reins for either of them for a period of time. Matt Rule sucked. He blamed Brady instantly. Got rid of him. Guess who got fired at the end of the season? Matt Rule. Because they're like, that wasn't the problem. You're the problem.
Yeah.
McCarthy, maybe used him a little bit as a scapegoat, but he did give him multiple years, and the offense got way better under McCarthy when he left.
The offense was good under. The offense was good.
Dak's
under
best
Moore.
year was the year Kellen Moore left.
Yeah.
Then he goes to San Diego.
I'm looking it up right now. Let me find it.
We just talked about it. It's why you drafted Dak in fantasy, because of his year last year.
No, the last couple of years he's been insane since he came back from that injury.
Which has been with McCarthy, right?
McCarthy was this year and last year. This year he got hurt.
But like you're saying, Moore then goes to San Diego.
And that wasn't great.
Right.
It made Justin Herbert look very average. They had the worst offense they've had in a couple years. And I'm not blaming him for all this. I'm just saying the resume is not stellar.
Yeah, the resume is the same as Brady's. Brady has done nothing without an elite quarterback, and Kellen Moore has done essentially nothing without an elite offense on both teams.
Right.
With the Eagles and the Cowboys.
Kellen Moore had Justin Herbert. Wasn't that great? Dak, we all agree we don't love Dak. Dak's a competent NFL quarterback. Carolina is a different animal than those situations by a lot.
Carolina has proven no one is having success there unless you want to count the second half of this past season with Canales and
it wasn't even that much success. How many games did they win? 4?
I mean, they looked at least competent at the end of the year, but I guess that's
they learned how to lose.
Hey, that's his mistake. He shouldn't have gone there.
That's the standard that Carolina has set for themselves.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. Yeah. To your point, that was his only option because he was trying to move up too fast. Okay,
right.
Everyone knew that was a big jump from LSU 1 year to Carolina. We all said it. And he had to go under a coach who wasn't really going to let him be the OC. He was going to be the placeholder OC.
Right.
Because Matt Rule, coming from Baylor,
I mean,
he was going to call the shots. It's his first NFL job. So he went into a bad situation trying to get up the ladder. Then you thought he made a huge mistake, but then he goes to Buffalo and they get rid of the old quarterback. What was his name? From Miami that they replaced with him midseason. And the offense took off. The OC and Bills that Matt Brady took over for. He played at Miami.
Ken Dorsey, yeah.
Ken Dorsey.
Yeah.
So he takes off for Ken Dorsey,
I thought you were talking
and
about
the
the
offense
Dolphins
immediately gets better.
Yeah.
So I agree with Corey. You're going to have players. Kellen Moore has always had players.
Yeah.
When you look at Joe Brady's failure, it was with a terrible team.
Correct.
With no quarterback.
And that's where I think when you talk about...
I'm not any more sold on Brady than I am on Moore.
Well, I don't want Moore either.
Because there's the big push. I think McVay started it, and then you saw it with Shanahan in San Francisco. You saw it with, more recently, with McDaniel in Miami. This push for these young thinker, football nerd type OCs. And that's all well and good if they're that, like, McVay's an offensive genius prodigy for his age, respective to other NFL coaches.
I blame him for all of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and I
was texting
and that's kind of what I'm saying. And so
blame Shanahan. That's where it all
but the problem is, so after that, and then the Shanahan offense, I kind of doubled down on that because he did some things with 49ers with guys who most people before him didn't think were, besides Kittle, were that talented. But the younger these guys are, the more dependent they are on having these ballers at the skill positions. And so Kellen Moore is one of these guys to me where he could have success as an NFL head coach, but I think he's much more prone to have success if he jumps into a spot that already has established
that's all of these coaches,
Pro Bowlers.
So. Okay, let's look at Kellen Moore's career as an offensive coordinator. First year as an offensive coordinator was 2019. Guided the Cowboys to the NFL's top-ranked offensive attack, 431 yards a game, while ranking second in passing offense, 296, fifth in rushing.
Was he the play caller?
He was not calling plays.
This is the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but he wasn't calling plays the first year.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure. It doesn't say?
It doesn't say here. Through the first 5 weeks of his second year, Prescott was leading the league in passing yards before suffering that season-ending injury. After that, they had to utilize the 4 different quarterbacks. Units still ranked 8th in passing offense with the multiple quarterbacks at 260 a game. Let's see. 2021, Moore's offense led the league in total yards per game, 407, and points per game, 31.2. Second most passing yards per game at 282. Prescott threw for a team record 37 touchdowns. Let's see. 2022, there was another injury to Dak. They finished 12-5, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't really say much.
What I'll say is when you get to the Eagles, though, that top passing rank flips with rushing. So I wonder... But
that's
hear me out.
Well, that shows the ability to adapt because the Eagles are not going to be a passing offense.
There's a pro and a con with that. Or not really a con,
There's not a con.
When I see the passing stats, I wonder... That's why I want to know who was calling plays when he was in Dallas. I know he was calling
plays because he got it taken away right before he
So
What was
Before he left.
2023?
because the high passing
That was with the
numbers,
Chargers.
pass heavy offense is
It's not on here.
indicative.
This was the it didn't list the stats.
The reason I bring this up, the pass heavy offense was indicative of Mike McCarthy, and still is. The run heavy is
it's his team. It's going to be the offense that he wants to run as the head coach.
right.
So why not hire McCarthy?
This past year, Kellen Moore.
I don't want him.
And I know we talk about shout outs a lot, but I do have to shout out Ross Jackson because I was listening to his episode from Monday, and he was rattling off some of the ranks of the Eagles' offense under Kellen Moore. They threw the ball the least amount of times out of any team. They were number 2 in rushing yards, number 2 in rushing touchdowns. I'm not saying it's a con. That's why I took that back earlier. It's not really a con. But so it would make you think, okay, so if Kellen Moore comes in, we're going to have a run heavy. But what I think I tend to agree with what you said. The one thing I will say I like about him as an OC anyway is that he does seem to have adapted to his personnel. I know he has gotten some criticism this past year for, at times, not going to Saquon enough. But, Saquon is still carrying the rock, and they're going to be in the Super Bowl. The 20th?
Right. He had 2,000 yards. I think he went to him
game
plenty
of the
enough.
year. Yeah, so...
Do I think he made Jalen Hurts better? He had his best QB rating. Did Jalen Hurts look like
a
good
good
passer?
The lowest passing they had the lowest passing yards per game out of any team, but that was fine because they're an explosive team. They have an explosive offense without having to pass first. You think of explosive offenses, it's throwing the ball around the yard. The Chiefs were one of 8 teams with the most passing attempts this year. Also got to credit Ross on that one. But
Time out. Moore did call plays until he was let go.
Okay, so
it says here McCarthy took over play calling duties once Moore was let go in 2023.
So
Moore was calling the plays.
If we're evaluating Kellen Moore
in 2023, Dak finished second in the MVP voting.
Yeah,
so I'm just saying.
Look, if we're evaluating Kellen Moore purely as an offensive play caller, offensive coordinator,
he wasn't calling then. That was McCarthy. He was gone.
Okay, well,
that's fine though. Dak
but even when he was in Dallas, he was
years.
calling plays, and he's calling plays with the Eagles, and that's working. So there's a lot to like about him as a coordinator. We were texting in the group, John is one that Jono jumped in on, but that I'm not convinced, and
none of us are.
Admittedly, I have not. It's not like he's one of our coaches who I watched every press conference for.
I'm glad he's not one of our former coaches because it's somebody from outside of the building.
Yes,
who's not going to have any ties to anybody else.
My initial beat on him, and again, this is a fan take. It's a gut thing. I don't see head coach in him. I just don't.
I have no idea.
I have no idea. I'm not going to say I see it or I don't see it. Look, Kevin O'Connell's not a screamer or full of moxie, as you guys like to say.
He's not like
there are a lot of Andy Reid's not either. He sits there and he's just like he just looks at his play sheet, looking like a walrus. I'm about
to piss you off right now.
What?
McConnell's got the Riz.
Rizzy's a loser. What do you like?
No, not Rizzy. I'm talking about Riz charisma. I think McConnell's got charisma. I I see.
O'Connell doesn't have much charisma, dude.
Yeah, he does. You see him talking. He's
I watched it last night because
he's a smooth talker, man. Come on.
Yeah. We were going back and forth yesterday, and I was like, you know what? I want to watch some press conferences of Kellen Moore, and I want to watch some press conferences of Kevin O'Connell, and I want to go through some of these guys. And I'm telling you, O'Connell is not charismatic. He might have a little more than Moore. It ain't much.
I don't give a flying fuck.
The quarterback on Netflix anytime they showed him, that dude's like,
is Bill Belichick charismatic?
No. Well, actually, yes, he is.
In his own way.
In his own way, he is.
Well, actually, wait.
Now that he's not coaching,
I'd like the grumpy old man.
Let me push back on that. If he had the same winning percentage as I was going to say DA, but let's say DA. You would not say that's charisma. The only reason we can even remotely call it that is because he's won multiple
Super Bowls.
But that said, so here's the thing with Moore. I'm
just going to say that dude was the stud quarterback on a very good Boise State team for like 4 years, and he was the unquestioned leader on that team.
I forget his handle, but
I read his scouting reports coming out. I went and found them last night. I read like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah,
and every single one is like intangibles, leadership of the locker room, unquestioned leader.
Because the one.
But let me say this: I am not at all advocating for Kellen Moore. I'm not.
I don't think there's anybody.
I look at the candidates. Yeah. There's no one. I don't want it. I don't actively want it.
Here's where we are with the coaching search, and this is our.
I'm going to be like
where we are
with any of them.
As a 2025 Saints fan, looking for a head coach. We are not in a position of advocacy. There is no one to advocate for anymore. And if you think there is, great, cool. I'd love to hear the reasons. But, so I have my gut. I've told you my gut on Kellen Moore. I use the word mouth breather. His mouth's always open.
He does look goofy. I'll give you that. Yeah, he's got that.
But, and Grossman was sorry.
None of that matters.
None of it. It doesn't matter if he can win and get the players convinced that, hey, I might be awkward. Or do what Eli Manning's been doing over the past 10 years, like with when he does the commercial shoots and the TV appearances with Peyton. There was a while where Eli was like so forced on us, but he's recently kind of like leaned into his own little brother awkwardness kind of thing, and people fucking love him. Like other former players love him. So if Moore can show that he brings results, he'll put you in the right position as a player. The defense can see, hey, we don't have to be on the field all the fucking time because Kellen's holding it down. He could be awkward as fuck at practice, and the players be like, that's just who he is.
Yeah. Let me say this. You know what coach had more moxie than any coach in NFL history?
Are you going to go with the Ditka?
Mike Ditka.
That was.
Do we need to remind you?
It was something.
Do we need to remind you how bad he was as a Saints head coach?
He was a hell of a coach for the Bears, though. So
the surrounded by like the best defense ever? Sure.
Yeah. The alpha, the moxie.
That's how it works. That's exactly what we've been saying.
The charisma element.
Hey, I'm not arguing that point.
It's a very nuanced thing because Ditka had something, but
Ditka had more personality, more charisma, more moxie, whatever fancy word you want to throw out there.
Dicka's only problem was thinking you could still play and build a team the way you did in the 80s, and you couldn't do that anymore by just trading a a whole draft for a running
Here's a
back.
comparison for you.
That was his biggest problem.
And admittedly, it might not be right, but
white wide receivers,
the comp, my comparison of Ditka was to the NFL as Trump is to politics.
Don't do an impression. Don't start with all this.
I'm a pivot.
I wasn't going to do an impression, but then you mentioned.
I want to say two things.
But it's because he was all about himself. His moxie was about him.
No, but that's what champions make champions. The egos make champions. They do. Look at Sean Payton. You think he's not about himself? Come on, that dude had the biggest ego on the planet, and for us, he's the best coach in our history.
Shot.
Hey, you know what though? Peyton was not known as like this super charismatic, aggressive guy coming in. He wasn't.
No, he won that Super Bowl and he lost his mind. But real quick, he did. Exactly. That's what happened.
So maybe maybe Moore's balls drop. I'm trying to be positive on Moore because it looks like he's the guy they want.
He could grow up before our eyes.
His balls could drop, and maybe he turns into Peyton. Maybe he starts getting some Vicodin.
Go to an orthodontist.
Maybe.
I think so. Couple things we've talked about with the coaches. The problem with hiring a head coach. One, what are the candidates the year you're looking for a head coach? This was my argument when we were talking about DA. The year we hired DA, I said, okay, who are we going to hire? Everybody's like, it's terrible. Okay, who are we going to hire? At the time, Max liked Doug Peterson and Brian Daboll. Well, how's that going? That didn't go so great. Obviously, DA didn't go great. The truth is, there weren't great candidates that year.
Was that the McConnell year, or was McConnell the year before for the Vikings?
He was the year after, was he not?
It was 22, right?
I think it was the year after.
Okay. Because I'm trying to think of who.
There was nobody good.
Nobody. It's all
Peterson was a former recent Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Right. My question is, we just mentioned Daboll and Peterson. Daboll's still there, obviously. Peterson not.
But Daboll shouldn't be there. He is there.
He's basically like a warm body in a chair at this point. Who from that class is still
nobody?
Okay.
Nobody.
So there you go.
So
everybody wanted Bieniemy. He was the one. Everyone's like, we need to hire Bieniemy.
And he just had a coach in college. So. It was a terrible year.
Terrible.
So there were no good options. And sometimes you have to think about that. And we talked about it last year. And I said, well, you want to make sure you're firing a coach in a year. If you're just firing, you want to make sure it's a year where there's options.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. Everyone felt Ben Johnson was the one. Well, whether they're right or not, we're going to see.
We'll find out.
But
he kind of worries me.
Me too.
He's got some DA to his.
And
like a younger.
I'm a little.
We'll see.
Yeah,
okay?
We'll see.
Are you worried he doesn't have the moxie? Anyway, sorry.
Beyond him, there's no consensus. One could pan out totally. We don't know. It could be Kellen Moore. It could be if Joe Brady got hired. It could be Aaron Glenn. No one knows. Because
this is why I texted you all and said I want to know. Go on record. Rank the candidates by who you want. I know, but. The reason is you referenced me saying I like Peterson. You didn't say who you fucking liked. You were just like, I don't like him. I don't like him.
No,
I don't like him.
I was arguing that I understand the DA hire. That was the conversation.
Right.
I understand it because I don't like anyone. And I admittedly said I don't like anyone, so I understand DA. I would have understood Peterson. I'm just saying I'm not going to get upset because Peterson didn't come and we ended up DA because I didn't like Peterson.
Yeah.
And that's all I was saying.
I didn't get upset about that. I was like, no, I understand the DA hire because we all did. No, everybody was wrong, but we all did understand it.
And I know this goes against Mickey Loomis's, one of his mantras, but it was almost like you were less hiring the man versus hiring the result that comes with the man. Like you knew with DA, it wasn't so much about Dennis Allen himself.
It was about continuity.
Continuity was the result of hiring him. So now, we have the pick of the litter, man. Wow. But who's there, right? And so it's not that if we hire McCarthy, it's not so much that we're enamored with Mike McCarthy, the mall cop himself. We are enamored with the floor that McCarthy brings. Like we want to see a dude who's been to Super Bowls before. He's mature.
Successful in two
he's
places.
Confident. He's going to give you a certain floor. Or you're going to bring in Kellen Moore, who, do you love Kellen Moore himself? Do you think he's fiery? No, but the result is a guy who's proven to spark offenses besides San Diego and is kind of a risk. They
weren't a bad offense in San Diego. I mean, Jesus, Herbert threw less touchdowns this year.
Yeah,
I do want to say this, though.
Yeah.
The Eagles' offense at the end of 2023 was an absolute train wreck. Everyone thought Sirianni was just fucking
I remember that was
flying off into being
he didn't have Saquon. I know.
They got but the offense was unstoppable the year before when they were running the tush push, doing all that shit. They were doing that at the beginning of the year. All of a sudden, that back half of the year, they just flamed out. We all knew the Bucs were going to beat them in the playoffs. Bucs beat them in the playoffs.
That's when the Jalen Hurts hate was coming in because
exactly. So to Moore's credit, came into a shit show of an offense. Obviously, Saquon Barkley was the biggest piece of the equation coming in, but they were able to get that offense focused on we're going to do this, and they did it better than anybody.
The other thing I wanted to say, because we brought up McVay, I think McVay has twisted reality in the way people are hiring coaches right now.
He broke it.
And let's be honest. There might only be one McVay. Now, we all
Shanahan too. They're the two that kind of
pretty good, but Shanahan just as many losing seasons as winning seasons. I know he made the Super Bowl twice, and that's huge. I'm not discounting it, but he's also had as many losing seasons as
when
winning
you see
seasons.
the interviews of McVay, his recall, his detail.
Yeah, he's truly brilliant. And
God, don't start jerking him off because he can name the 12
But what I want to
starters
say
on
is
the other team.
it also
because the entire playbook is in his head cold.
His success is he went to a Super Bowl, lost the one they screwed us out of, and then they went to another one.
Which, by the way,
Shanahan's been to two. Those are your two examples. Mm-hmm. McVay won when they were able to build an absolute super team. Okay,
right.
They pick up midseason Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, Odell Beckham. They get Stafford before the season. They have Aaron Donald. They have Cooper Kupp in the greatest receiving year of all time. It was a great scenario too. And you want to talk about talent? There hasn't been a team with more talent than that. Mm-hmm. That was insane. So then everyone starts hiring the young guy, thinking we can find but there might not be any more.
Yeah,
right.
Kevin O'Connell.
I love him, but he hasn't done anything.
But he's year 3?
Yeah, but he hadn't won a playoff game, right? Is that wrong or is that correct?
I don't know.
I think that's right.
I don't think he's won a playoff game yet.
Yeah.
Everyone loved Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel hasn't won a playoff game. I just think it's twisted a little bit where we're getting away from people who have gone this long path, tons of experience, where it's not just about calling great offenses, but like we need to know how to win these games. Yeah. And you watch the way the Chiefs play and the timing.
Yeah,
of
but with the Chiefs,
play.
you're talking about the best coach ever.
I agree, but let's go McCarthy winning with Rodgers or any of them.
But the Chiefs are a product of a team. What you see out of the Chiefs is a product of a team coached by a seasoned, grizzled guy that's
coached by arguably the best coach ever.
Yeah, because they don't.
That's a big thing, though.
They don't blow their load in the first, second quarter. They just play with their food if they can, like they did with us. But kept it close. And then when they had to put the hammer down, they put the hammer down, got away. And they're like, "Cool, we're done." Got our two.
When did all the plays they were saving for the crucial parts come out?
Yeah,
when they needed them.
This past
week.
It
worked every time.
Yeah.
So there's just a control to the game that you saw with the old Patriots, with Belichick, with him, with multiple coaches. So I told Max, it's the old fat guys who've won all the Super Bowls. If we're being honest, I mean that's who's won them all in the last
McVay
20 years. McVay is the one-off. Harbaugh won one.
Peterson.
Peterson won one, which is the biggest fluke Super Bowl of our era.
The fact that it was him as coach and Foles as QB will always boggle my mind.
It's the biggest fluke.
Yeah.
And for whatever, I'm still going to say the one Belichick ego moment of not playing Malcolm Butler. Wasn't it that game?
Yeah.
And you're getting torched for 400 yards by Nick Foles.
That was the only way that being the old fat guy can bite you in the ass. Because a young coach would have been like, who gives a fuck? Get the fuck in there.
Yeah, but here's why I'm not excited about McCarthy. Because you and I have talked about this a bunch where we're like, his offense, I mean, yes, the offense is still productive, but it's like...
productive his whole career, man.
It is, and we've established that he's essentially Peyton. He's
Sean Payton's
Fat Peyton with less charisma.
To be clear, we're not excited about any of them, but you're less excited.
I would be, honestly... equally excited if push comes to shove between Moore and McCarthy, and that's not very excited. But I would look at McCarthy's resume and say this is basically fatter Sean Payton with better PR.
It's basically if
or with worse PR, I should say.
Sean Payton, the guy that played Sean Payton in the Sean Payton movie. Like,
yes, the guy from King of Queens.
This would be accurate. Yeah. You know, like if
he has I believe, this could be wrong, more NFC Championship game appearances. He's got the one Super Bowl just like Peyton, only been to one Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. He's got more division titles, more winning seasons.
Yeah.
Same or maybe one game better playoff record.
The resumes are nearly mirror
They're
images.
identical.
And
they're
they're
identical.
great resumes. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them are Hall of Fame resumes
Either
yet.
one of them wins a Super Bowl with the other team, they're Hall of Fame.
Correct.
Yeah.
Instantly. Now, Dallas...
Maybe he'll be
Dallas
driven
was
to
a
get that.
1 seed. Dallas won 13 games last year, correct? Double-digit wins.
They went 12-5, I think, three times, right?
Yeah, that's what it was. 3 times. It wasn't 13. You're right. It was 12-5. Or 12-4, then 12-5. It's a consistent winner. So when you give me, this is what, just to fully disclose my rankings, once Ben Johnson was gone, I put him first because, like, if I'm going to take a flyer, why not just take the guy with experience that has a built resume? Because I don't love anyone else. It's not because I love him.
Yeah.
It's because, for me, of what our options are, give me the sure thing. Why not? I know he can be a head coach. I know he's had double-digit wins in 2 spots. He's been to NFC Championship games. He's been to the Super Bowl. Why not? So that's where I'm at with it.
Well, I'm going to push back because...
I got a response on that when you're done.
Yeah, I'm going to push back with... I have no doubt that McCarthy would come in and he's going to say, I want Carr. Like, Carr's my guy. He's going to be the starter. Let's go ahead and cut bait on some of the defensive guys. We're not going to restructure them. We're going to let them go ahead and get out the door over the next 2 years. And they're going to build, and they're going to say, we're going to keep Carr.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt he would go ahead and get this team to, 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 if everything, like, everyone stayed healthy and everything, the division stayed trash and all that. But I don't want to see us just, like, hovering around this 8 wins, 7, 8 wins, 9 wins, whatever,
We'll be
just topping out there.
Non-playoff or first round
maybe we
exit.
can get to the playoff stuff.
Firmly implanted in the teams of the draft.
At this point, I don't believe in any of these coaches. Give me the lottery ticket. Maybe we get lucky, and whether it's Moore, whether it's Kafka, whoever, maybe we get lucky and it turns into the next Sean Payton, and you cash in that lottery ticket. Yeah. If it doesn't, guess what?
But you have Sean Payton as the other option. You said maybe he turns into Sean Payton. Well, McCarthy is essentially Sean Payton. We just established.
No. What I mean is like somebody who builds this system that turns into
Takes the Sean Payton,
a 15-year thing. Maybe
previously unknown.
Most likely, it doesn't.
So,
but, hold on.
Yeah.
The reason I think Loomis is, obviously we've covered this, Loomis is the bigger issue. Yeah. This talent on this team, we're completely devoid of frontline talent. Like, we struggled, the 3 of us struggled to come up with building blocks on both sides of the ball. I don't think we came up with 5 overall on the entire team. Like, true, young building blocks that you would be comfortable giving a long-term contract.
Because we don't have
So
that
to
many.
me, as long as Loomis is in charge and he's piloting the ship, this tower level's fucked, and it's probably going to continue to be fucked because he's going to hand out more bad contracts. He's going to renegotiate more bad contracts. And that plus McCarthy, to me, equals like 8 wins a year. I don't want to do that. I'd rather bottom the fuck out if one of these other guys doesn't hit it. And then all of a sudden, there's a better case for pushing Loomis out the door, and then the draft picks are going to be there, like talking top 3 picks.
Yeah.
And then that way, that's how you can rebuild. Hopefully there's a new GM, and then there's a new coach.
Yeah.
You brought it up in the Discord, I think, where you were talking about, can we just hire somebody for...
Hire to fire.
Hire for a year. Can we just hire him for a year?
Can we hire a preempted one and done?
Yeah.
See, and that's... I differ from y'all completely.
But before I get into that was just throwing it out there. What I'll throw out there on McCarthy, which I had this thought, and it's definitely me trying to, like, spin it in the most positive light for us. But we keep talking about the young guys, the previously unknowns, as the when we're comparing the younger coordinator only, no head coach experience, to McCarthy with the years of experience. We're calling the young guys the possible lottery tickets. We're calling the young guys the ones who have higher ceilings. My thought is, there's an argument to be made that the one with the most potential just might be Mike McCarthy. And hear me out on why I think that might be the case. If you look at his career, especially the most recent stop with Dallas, yes, he's the head coach. Yes, he had arguably autonomy over coaching decisions, but he's the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, which means you're in bed every fucking day with Jerry Jones.
Pressure.
And
constant.
There's pressure. Jones is in your ear all the time. There had to have been, I'm not saying it cost him, I don't know if it cost him games, but that's a big deal for that head coach to deal with Jerry Jones and everything that brings, him getting in the way of a lot of your decisions, or at least not shutting up about what it is you're trying to do. Before that, he's in Green Bay, and he wins the Super Bowl when, things were all well and good, and then as towards the end of his tenure there was Rodgers, right? Where
Rodgers was there.
There's this kind of push and pull where, and Rodgers at the time, everybody was on Aaron Rodgers' side at the time, thinking he's generational. He's talented as hell.
He was,
but he's proven to be a whack job and a diva, and so you had to deal with that dude as your QB, basically pushing you out the door.
Yeah.
So one reason I think McCarthy could have more potential than any of these guys is he brings all of this experience.
I agree.
To a team, to a place where he's going to have none of that. And now my only pushback on my own thought is how is Mickey Loomis going to handle him? We saw that tweet from Josina Anderson today that, you take all these things with a grain of salt this time of year with the coaching rumors. But the rumor is that the initial discussions with McCarthy and Loomis didn't go well because there was tension and pushback about who's going to have what role when it comes to personnel, decisions, player signings, etc. So Loomis could get in the way of Mike McCarthy seizing on that potential, because I think it could be the first opportunity of Mike McCarthy's head coaching career to where he can just do him. That could be a really good thing. We'll see if he allows it to happen.
I'd much rather see what that is rather than what Loomis is. So
I think
I would too.
That's why I think that could be much more. McCarthy could.
I would sign up for
dark horse, be a bigger lottery ticket than the young guys.
I would sign up for Corey as GM over Loomis.
Right.
That's saying a lot.
Because I've heard your takes.
The text you sent earlier, that's how I read that text, that McCarthy's putting his foot in the ground because he wants to be able to make decisions, because he's just been under the Jones family.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And got it, the thumb was always on him, and then it's like, why didn't it work out?
Look, I don't blame McCarthy in the slightest. I think that rumor that came out about Glenn telling Mickey, or telling the guy interviewing him, I'm
not buying that for a second.
Hey, interviewer, if you go fire yourself, then I'll come.
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
So I think McCarthy going
in
and doing something that sounds a little bit more, that sounds like a more realistic situation. He is so beyond within his rights to bring up that stuff.
Well, no, he's smart to lay it
right,
all out on the
would
card.
Be, why is everyone cool
with
with Sean Payton doing that and not McCarthy?
Right,
just because of likability. That's it, and not results.
It's likability, and now it's Mickey and his ego. Mickey wants to. I do buy into the whole idea that Mickey wants to prove to the outside world, for his quote-unquote legacy, that he can win with not just Peyton and Breeze.
Absolutely. He's absolutely doing that.
Well, let's talk about that real quick, because this is what Max, I'm going to be, Max has told the story of us starting this because of all the back and forth we've had for years and years. All three of us, me and Max, going back even further.
Yeah, y'all go back further.
And, my whole take the whole time on Loomis was he sucks. This is back to when we were winning. And I really think Max wanted to do this thing because he was sick of me complaining while we're winning. And I'm like, this dude's an idiot. This dude. Yeah. And, I'm not going to say he's an idiot. He's not. He's obviously a very smart guy. You don't get to that spot without it.
Yeah.
I just think from when you're watching the way some of the operations went, you had to really question it. And even when we were winning, this was never a team with elite weapons. It was never a team with an elite defense. One year we had a very opportunistic defense that was good.
Well, no elite weapons besides Breeze.
Well, no, Breeze. But, okay, back to that. He didn't get Breeze. Breeze had no other options.
Yeah.
So Breeze came here as his second choice. Saban just retold the story again on a recent interview where he talked about leaving LSU and that he wanted Breeze and that the doctor said no and that he hid it so the Saints wouldn't know so Breeze could still get a job because the agent was a personal friend or his agent.
You couldn't not sign Breeze
we had
at that point.
And, correct. And we needed a quarterback. We were the only team that still needed a quarterback. Breeze had nowhere to go. We were signing Breeze. He did not go get Breeze.
Right.
Okay. So I can't give him that much credit for it when you were second choice again and you just did the only option that was out there. It was Culpepper and Breeze that year. Everyone knew it. Two teams needed a quarterback. It was Dolphins and us. Saban wanted Breeze. Dolphins said no.
Yeah.
Culpepper also coming off surgery. They take him. His career is never the same. He can't run anymore. His knee's screwed. And we get Breeze. So, yes, great move. I will give him all the credit in the world for hiring Sean Payton. 100%, he gets all the credit. You have to give him credit for that draft that completely turned the franchise around.
A couple
in 2006, especially, right?
Yeah.
So he did some really good things. But overall, when you watched how we operated through all this, why did we never fix the defense? Why did we have 6 losing seasons with Breeze?
Yes.
Why? That should never happen when Breeze is playing 16 games. And you can go look at all of the other people that were of Breeze's level, like Rodgers, Peyton, Brady. None of them had more than 1 losing season.
What was crazy to me was that the defense was never, until the tail end of Sean Payton's years with Dennis Allen as coordinator, after the Super Bowl year, the defense was shit. Complete shit. And it was shit by yardage.
All-time record.
It was shit by yardage in the Super Bowl year, but at least you had an opportunistic. They led the league in turnovers that year and all that stuff. So it was amazing to me that you saw. Like,
well, hold on. It was shit underneath a soon-to-be 5-time Super Bowl winning assistant coach in Spagnuolo.
Yeah, right. And so it was amazing
he had
to me
nothing to work with.
Loomis,
this is front office
but it's like
stuff.
you saw the guys you had on that Super Bowl defense with the athletes you had, the guys that hit hard, that rushed the passer, the fundamentally sound linebackers and Shanley and Fujita, the cornerbacks and Porter and Roman Sharp, all those guys. I mean, were they stifling? No, but did they make offenses a little bit wary of like throwing the ball down the field? Yeah, hell yeah.
And those are all good players,
They
right?
never replicated that.
Who we like.
Well, hold on. Finish what you were saying. Keep going.
So this whole time, I'm like, hey, why have we never had a number 1 wide receiver? Why have we never even tried?
No offense to your guy.
Meacham being the only one, right? And then Cooks was the next one.
Cooks was yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So high in the draft.
MT
was second round, but a little later than Cooks. He was 16. Cooks was 14.
So why have we never had a number 1 wide receiver?
Why did we never go out and give Drew weapons?
Oh, just go get one, yeah.
What I'm saying is like even the Patriots, they go out and get a Randy Moss. They draft an Edelman, a Welker. We had Colston, great pick in that same draft we're talking about.
We fell into our good wide receivers.
And we fell into our good tight end.
Yeah.
And that was the most elite playmaker we had in Breeze's first 12 years in the league until we got Thomas, right?
Sure.
I mean, not in the league, but with the Saints. And in 16 we get him, and he gets 3 years of Thomas, but really after that.
Sproles was pretty badass too.
Yeah, good. But again, like, is he an
Free
elite
agent.
pass catcher? He was a scheme guy.
He was
awesome. I love Darren Sproles.
He was like mini Taysom.
He was the mismatch of a century, right? Out of the back end. And Pierre was the best screen runner ever. And definitely played. But you never saw this team like look at the Eagles. Perfect example. Not everything's hit, but more do than don't, right? Look what they did this year. You bring in Bond. You draft 2 corners that both play huge roles on the team. You bring in Saquon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in 1 year.
A.J. Brown before,
Well, the thing with the Eagles is they hit on their top picks. Like Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean this year, both hit. Both were home runs.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown, just a savvy trade getting him from the Titans. The dumbest trade ever, the Titans giving him away.
Yeah, and
Saquon.
Mike
And,
Grady, shout out.
the Georgia,
Mekhi Becton on the offensive line. You take a former top 10.
Take the whole defensive line. They drafted Georgia's team. And
they did hit immediately because I follow them obviously because they went to my school. But like Jordan Davis the first year wasn't really to be heard of. N'Kobe Dean was not a starter the first year. But those guys, because
Nolan Smith looks great.
Nolan Smith.
The point is they don't miss. They don't miss on their draft picks.
Yeah.
So you have all these years, and yes, we've hit a couple drafts. We know that. 2 of them just are kind of crazy how good we hit in 17 and 6, right?
That's it, though.
You look at the rest, it's
They're
a
bad.
pretty
It's a
poor,
bloodbath.
And then you throw into the fact that you're just throwing picks away year after year.
On Tommy Stevens type picks.
Right. That was Peyton, I think. I think
Doesn't matter. It still happened. I mean.
And you do things like that, and your depth goes away, and you watch the team fall apart when we have a few injuries. It just never seemed like we were getting added plus from the front office. It always seemed like Breeze was overcoming it. Breeze and Peyton. I'm gonna throw Peyton in there, and again, crazy good hire. It worked. You meshed those two together. I know you didn't know you had Breeze. It turned into the perfect fit for both of those guys. But I think what Breeze covered up, and we've talked about this over and over again, I know, but what he covered up is insane. And I don't think anyone realized it because we were winning, and we were a really good team. For a 10-year span, we were the winningest team in the NFL. But that, to me, it was all on the back of Breeze if you watch what the team was, because there wasn't ever – they never made Breeze's life easier, and the defense never got better until that draft in 17. We were terrible.
Yeah.
And to have 6 non-winning seasons with Drew Brees out of 15,
that's crazy.
That's a mismanagement from the front office with a healthy Hall of Famer quarterback. It's mismanagement.
Yeah, I mean, you can't – because a lot of people want to say it's started – not started, but they look to the post-Brees Peyton to say, like, all right, look, since you've been on your own without Brees and Peyton, what have you done? Nothing. If anything, you screwed things up worse.
What'd you do before him? So right here,
and
Corey,
then you look before,
before Brees, 28 and 36. Okay, after him, 30 and 38. Okay, so and Brees was what 30 games over 500 with the Saints, I think.
Yeah. No,
there's enough. There's 10 years
before
and after now, or 9 years and 15 years of Brees. There's enough of a sample size to show what's going on.
Because
this feels like a perfect time for Corey to go ahead and plug the T-shirt.
Yeah, we have the T-shirts. We got 2 versions of Get Rid of Mickey. One of them is just straight up Fire Mickey Loomis, similar to our Fire Dennis Allen shirts. The other one is more of a quote.
And where can we get these shirts?
That would be at shop.28to3podcast.com.
There it is.
So,
and again, I want to say, I'm not saying, Loomis is going to have a spot in every Saints fan's heart. He was the GM when we won the Super Bowl. He did some good things. I think
15
what you're
years
seeing,
ago.
Right. More.
Yeah. Well,
we're going in 16, right?
We just made 15 of the
okay, you're right. This week it's 15,
right.
actually. Yeah. You're right. So, I don't want to take away what he did to help us get there. He was definitely a part of it. But is he elite at what he does?
No.
I don't ever think that was the case.
No.
And it's time for something new.
Yeah,
it's been 23 years. It's time for something new.
I've seen some sentiments online, especially the Twitters, where the only people, like Andrew Juge was tweeting this, and he said the same people that were chest pounding about or bragging about, look at the Loomis math, fuck the salary cap, the Saints are going to do what they want and still get guys, are now the ones who were calling for his head. Yeah. So true, and that's true.
It's more of a statement.
It's just like a statement.
Ask this guy how often I went nuts
and then
about
that. Then it was followed, and it's not just him, but the only people who are like, don't get rid of Loomis are saying, Loomis hasn't yet had the ability to show us whether or not he can be the architect of a true rebuild, like a hard rebuild, because we really, by hiring DA, we really stretched out trying to do that soft rebuild and or just continue with what we had and give these guys a last hope window type of thing. So some people are saying, well, now starts your actual hard rebuild. So let's see if Loomis can be the architect of a hard rebuild. He's never really had to do that. And I'm like, well, I get that, but it's like,
Katrina's a pretty hard rebuild.
That was a hard rebuild, and he had Breeze and Peyton, but and then someone said the only that DA was a miss, but he hasn't let him get another chance to hire a head coach and do things with more salary cap space. And I'm like, DA's a big miss. He's only hired 2 head coaches, and one of them was not good.
Yeah, but the other one's a home run.
But the other one's a home run.
You also have to say, like, if you're putting accountability on him, he's also a reason for DA's failure.
Yeah.
He is part of that problem.
So my thing is, while I get the idea of, let's see if, because it's not going to be this year, but especially next year we have more cap space. Let's see if Loomis can be the architect of a rebuild. While I hear that, to your point, Nick, there's been so much along the way, like evidence of bad decisions and mismanagement, that it's just time's up.
So real quick, Corey, top 5 Saints free agents in 23 years of
Loomis?
Yeah.
Obviously Breeze,
Yeah.
DeMario.
Yeah. This
Sproles.
is where it starts getting tough. Sproles. You just went to the third down back.
And
23 years. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Eagles just got Saquon and Bond.
Well, and that's in 23 years, and DeMario is the only one within the past. We signed DeMario 9 years ago now? 8?
He would have been
no
6, 7?
6 or 7. 6.
Yeah.
But I mean, not even. There's not a significant free agent signing in the past 5 years.
No.
Jesus Christ, I can't think of anybody.
That's what I'm saying. You can't come to 5 where you're like, what a signing. We're talking about a quarter of a century,
and
right?
Honey Badger.
Yeah, good player,
right?
Not a bad sign,
and that's not.
But there's so many more.
That's
Jarius
not supposed
Birds
to be.
And Browner.
Now look,
and
is it supposed to be a hard thing to get a Saquon as a free agent, to get a Breeze as a free agent? Yeah, that doesn't come along a lot, or even DeMario. But it's not supposed to be difficult to get contributors out of free agency. We're having problems even saying this guy was a good contributor out of free agency.
Right.
And just I'm not even asking for like a free agent top 25 Saints player ever. I'm just saying, who's a guy that we took out of free agency and planted as a starter right
there's
away?
There's very few. There's one or two you missed. Jabari Greer was a good.
That was a great one.
We were abysmal cornerback when we got him.
That's a top 5 one.
Yeah. After that,
Sharper
was 3 for me. I wrote a quick list real quick.
Those were not for character, but
he won us a Super Bowl. Let's be honest.
Football talent.
Mike McKenzie then.
McKenzie probably makes it, but
Fajita.
Was he signed before he was GM?
Let's be honest. That whole
he
Super
was signed
Bowl
before 2000.
No. Loomis has been around forever.
Well,
bro.
Breeze wrote about it in his book.
Yeah, but McKenzie's been gone forever.
That whole Super Bowl roster was built out of like castaways from other teams. That was the best free agent performance probably of a whole team that you can find in a long time. I guess not 09, but 06, because you brought in Shanley, you brought in Fujita, you brought in Jeremy Shockey later on.
Shockey probably is number 5
Shockey's
for
a good
me.
one.
Shockey's a huge one. Even guys like support, but David Thomas,
what year did he come to us?
04.
Okay, so that's him.
You could technically even count wasn't Pierre undrafted? Mm-hmm. So he's technically a free agent. But he
was always pretty decent at that. I'll give him that.
No, he was really good at. Well, I'm not going to say he. The scouting department.
Right. Where
was
Mickey
really good
fell
at that.
off, because when you look to the 06 draft, the free agents, you want to. I mean, whatever could be better. I mean, grand slam. It's not even a home run when you take draft and free agents. Where Mickey's fallen off is free agents for depth. I mean, like we don't have support guys even coming in as free agents. I mean, we tried that with Willie Gay, but he did. I was hopeful, damn hopeful. He didn't pan out.
Man, you got to remember though, Loomis has never been a talent evaluating guy. He's always been he's a numbers guy. He's basically Kai Harley. Kai Harley is not a talent evaluator. He is a numbers guy. He's basically cooking the books. Like Loomis came around when Randy Mueller was the GM.
Yeah.
Randy Mueller was a talent evaluator.
Yeah,
Loomis was just his guy. Basically his Kai Harley.
100%. And you want to know why we're where we're at now? Is because he wasn't that good at that.
Yeah.
Because you can. I said this when we were getting to the tail end of Breeze. I said, okay, now you mortgage because Drew's telling you, hey, it's 1 or 2 more, it's whatever. Okay, you can mortgage 2 years past that.
Yeah.
Dude, we are now 4 years past that.
I know.
We are knee deep in it. That was a poor approach.
He has served.
I think it's more because the rest of the division was absolute trash, and they kept looking at it and saying, we can win the division.
Yeah, here's the hurdle that we have to get over. But
you can't
Mickey's
get that over your skis.
But the thing is, like, he's like a piece of technology that's obsolete. Like, you were good at one thing, and your purpose is now gone because we have a different need now as an organization. You can look at 06. You did great with the draft of free agents. In 09, kept things rolling. Super Bowl.
You should let him go just because of what Howie Roseman's done.
But
to
you
him.
can
that alone.
That alone, yeah, that could have happened 2 years ago. And then you go to 11. Look at that dominance. And
he became obsolete the second Kai Harley was on the team.
Well, he carried his talents. From 11, that was a huge boon because that bought him at least 5 years. How good that team was coming off of with 09.
How good that offense was.
Yeah, the offense. But yeah, that's right. Defense was horrible that year. I mean, he still won 13 games, but so then once you got through the doldrums of the 7 and 9s and the mediocre Sean Payton days, and you showed some life again at the tail end of Breeze's career.
That's another one to trade.
It's
right. I was saying just free agent.
No, it's a trade.
He was good at stretching out what we had, keeping Breeze around, stretching out the rest of the roster to keep as many key pieces as he could in by using the money. But now that that's all gone, we don't need that. We don't need that kind of GM anymore. It's just we need, like Max said, the talent evaluator. We need someone who's going to be crafty with trades.
It's not a mistake Ireland was around when we started turning it around in the draft. It's not a mistake.
For the record, Shockey was a trade as well.
Oh, he was? I thought he was free agent.
Yeah, okay.
So
but you have to include trades. You have to. That's a smart move.
I'm just going to say.
I think you were making a point at free agency, but
in free agency, that is not a good resume. If y'all are all struggling at number 5 over a quarter of a century.
Struggling at number 3.
It's the past not having won in the past 5 years is an indictment.
Yeah.
And obviously it goes his cap mismanagement.
He couldn't afford anybody.
Yeah,
one.
Right.
He spent the money on Honey Badger. Honey Badger has played well. We can't say that's a bad signing. It wasn't. Marcus May was a bad signing.
Sorry.
3rd in tackles.
Yeah, well,
Per game. He was. That hot take hit, mind you.
It's not a hot take.
It's not a hot take. It's a take.
It's a take.
It's a take. That take.
So I think there's enough of a resume built because we haven't even gotten into ownership, but especially on Loomis, where you're 16 games under 500 without Breeze. That's not good. You're the head of it all, right? And that's 9 years of work with a losing record. You had a great run with Breeze. It should have been better. If everyone's being honest, that run should have been better. It's.
I hate even thinking about that because
the NFL and unbelievable circumstances.
It's hard if you to win that one. But it still should have been. I mean, the Packers probably say the same thing about Rodgers. They should have gotten a lot more out of him.
They should. And I'm not talking about Super Bowls. I'm talking about winning seasons, always being in the mix. To have 6 seasons where you don't have a winning record with, you couldn't go. Because
you could
9-7 with Drew Brees.
You couldn't.
Something's wrong with the team.
The years where we had Brees and didn't even have a winning record. Because Peyton had those 7 and 9 years.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah. There's 6 of those seasons.
If I just repeated that, sorry.
Yeah,
you literally repeated it.
To be fair,
I thought you were saying the winning, the 9-win seasons.
Man, I was like, is there an echo in here?
I just blanked out.
I think they're 4 7-9s and 8-8. What else? You probably.
So we went.
There's 4 7-9.
We went 10-6 in 06, and then we went 7-9, 7-9. Then we hit the Super Bowl.
So Nick, let me say the exact same thing you said, just in a completely different way.
Next year. And then
there was an 8-8 year.
God damn it! It's 2-7 and.
The point
I
is,
think there was 3 in a row 7-9.
It might be.
I think it's 3 in a row, and then one more.
His whole I guess in hindsight, you can't really say he was wrong to bring in Spags because of what Spags has done.
Oh God, no, he wasn't wrong. He failed him once he got here.
Failed him with personnel.
And what's funny is the guy that looked better than Spags, Rob, when he came in. His defense all of a sudden did better than Spags.
Okay, time out. Here we go. 2006, 10-6, then 7-9, then 8-8, then 13-3, then 11-5, 13-3, 7-9, 11-5, 7-9, 7-9, 7-9.
That's 5 7-9 seasons, and 1 8-8. That's 6 seasons.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. 6 seasons.
5 losing seasons. It's just.
And I know
you can't have a losing season a third of your years with Drew Brees. The team's not good enough around it.
What was our record the year Bridgewater came in? That was a playoff year, right?
Oh, that was the rookie year of Kamara.
And
17. What were we in?
11-5.
And I know some people put blame on Sean Payton breaking his leg the one year.
No, that was 2019, dude.
Cromer had.
That was 13-3 year.
Damn.
That was the no call year.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Which
right.
By the way, Eric and Casey and I were texting. They're still not in the Discord. Eric and Casey, just get time's up to get
17
in the
was
Discord.
the
But
Minnesota.
Eric
Miracle.
says he's tired of people griping about the no call.
Why?
He says we shouldn't have come down to that.
No, disagree.
Yeah.
You play the whole game to get to that point.
Exactly.
So that's bullshit. It's not even a remotely debatable call.
Yeah,
You
but
took-
for that call, we're
Yes.
in. It's 10 seconds left on the clock. Kick a field goal.
You were
game's
going
over.
down there to run out the clock. They took the opportunity to run out the clock.
Max
And
is
I will
holding the mic.
I will always bitch about that call.
Let the record
I will never
reflect.
be over it.
This
Max
is not what
holding the
happened to the
mic.
Bills this weekend.
I said, I would
this is
take-
not that.
I would take that gripe to my grave,
Yes.
and I'm not going to apologize for it.
The game, unless you miss a 24-yard
But we had a lead,
field goal.
and we gave it up to Jared Goff. Come on, guys. We could have stopped him after we kicked the field goal.
You
we
can
didn't
say
stop him.
we still
could have
should have
stopped
won.
him in overtime.
You can say that. I'm fine with that. But you cannot say stop griping about it because it lost you the game.
Yeah.
It is the most egregious non-call
Ever.
in
It's not
sports
close.
history.
It's
Yeah.
not close.
Every sport.
Because I'm not.
And this came up because Casey sent a video about the call that the Redskins almost got against them in the game. The palpably unfair
Yes, the
act
automatic touchdown.
awarding,
Yeah.
and it was like, and he sent a link about the rule and said, why the fuck didn't we get this call during the no call game? And I was like, I mean, fuck, I'd have just taken a defensive holding, but yeah, that could have been called too. And so
The difference
that
in
sparked
that
debate.
call, in every other bad call in history, which there are many, we know that, is the game is over unless you miss a
It ends the game.
20-yard field goal.
It ends the game.
Unless you fumble kneeling the ball and miss a 20-yard field goal.
It's two-sided. That it was so obvious.
Right.
Like it's the textbook. If it was if the no call was holding, it would have been an offensive tackling a linebacker from behind.
And I'll say,
Like,
Eric, if that happens in the third quarter, sure, you overcome it. There's a quarter to play, no problem. When you are running out the clock and a first down ends the game, the clock will expire on the field goal from 20 yards out.
Yeah.
That's a different situation. That game was decided by a ref.
Yeah.
There's no way you can
And
say otherwise.
Part of my thing too, and not to gang up on Eric, but to gang up on Eric because it's warranted. It's a conference championship game. You got to expect it to be close. I mean, you give up a lead. Yeah, you don't want to give up a big lead. You don't want to be the
played
team
it
that fails.
perfectly.
When you have the lead with under 2 minutes left, you want to protect it to go to the Super Bowl. Like, yes, you should.
It was perfectly played.
You should do that and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, no matter the reason why the game got to be as close as it was close. And so now that's your current reality with 1:45 left in the fourth quarter from the Saints' 20-something yard line. Like, that was the reality they were living in, and they were trying to close out that game, and they were prevented from doing that.
And I talk about the perfect play calling in the Chiefs and the way Reed saves those plays. It was a perfect play call.
God, that was a good
They
call.
didn't have
Yeah.
it covered. The guy panicked. The guy said after the game, I purposely interfered with him to prevent the touchdown.
Well, was that Buck and Aikman on that game, or whoever the commentator was? I hated it, but I had to. It's almost like hate watched the video.
I have no idea who it was
But-
because I was there,
but he
and
said-
I threw my drink, and it hit a security person right in the fucking face.
Yeah, I mean, I was there too, but just from watching the video, whoever the color was said, if Roby plays the ball, it's an interception. And
No.
No.
And I was like, I don't.
All right, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
But it goes to
Eric, you're wrong. That's in the topic.
I had to bring it up because it
So-
came up today. But it goes back to the fact that like that was an opportunity. I'll give Loomis some credit to manipulating the cap enough in those years to like be in a position to even possibly go to the so clearly be able to go to the Super Bowl, because that was because of his cap manipulation that we still had all the guys to form that kind of a roster. But like I said, after Breeze and Peyton are gone,
Correct.
and after you've proven that you could not do it with DA and Carr, there is no reason for that.
It all needed to end the season after Breeze leaves.
Yeah.
You have to sacrifice the season after Breeze, and you should be out of it.
Yep.
He just kept going.
He's the gambler at the blackjack table that didn't know when to walk away. Another hit.
Because he's not a talent
Another
evaluator.
hand.
He doesn't know these things.
But he didn't walk away with the chips. He had the chips. In terms of the salary cap, like he could have still been GM and just said, "All right, look, my best guys like Breeze and Peyton was like counting cards, okay, and it's like they're gone. I'm not going to win this blackjack game anymore. I need to step away from the table, take my chips, go play a different game. You know, like cut bait. And it would have sucked as fans. We would have had to say goodbye to a lot of guys we liked.
We got to do it anyway. We're going to have to do it this offseason.
You know, it's just putting off the inevitable.
What are you looking at over here? I see Benson.
I was trying to see when we bought the Pelicans. Anybody know?
Do you think that had anything to do with
2012?
Loomis's
no, because we were going to pivot into management here.
Yeah, I'm starting to get
or
more
ownership. Sorry, not management.
Starting to get more perturbed with ownership. I used to not be on ownership, but the more recent news.
The only reason I was looking up the Pelicans is to see what we've done since the Bensons have had the Pelicans. Right?
Yeah.
2012. So 13 years.
Yeah.
You've won one playoff series. Okay.
One playoff game?
Series. We won one series with
the Chris Pelicans. I was like, the NFL doesn't do series.
Saints, he's now had by himself, I think he was a minority owner, but 85 is when he bought it out. Right, so you're now.
I think there's
30 years
worse ownership groups, but it hasn't been great.
Well, if you go off of having two prominent sports franchises, the Saints and the Pelicans, as arguably the two worst franchises in their respective leagues at the same time, that's pretty damning.
Right now, it's
the Saints have
right now it's awful.
The third lowest odds to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah,
I sent it to you
saw that
the other day.
Duncan
and
said
then
that,
the Pelicans are. I'll full disclosure. I don't give a fuck about the Pelicans.
It's like 100,000 to 1.
What is their record right now? Aren't they like the worst in the league?
No, they're like third to worst now.
Okay. Yeah, we decided to go on a 4-game win streak just to make sure we don't get that first.
They're back to losing though. We're good.
So the Saints and the Pelicans are both atrocious. What's the common denominator? Gayle Benson, Mickey Loomis.
Okay, so Saints 40 years. You've been to one championship game. We just went through how it should have been two. You've been to 3 NFC championship games.
We are one of like 4 teams that's had 3, besides like the perennials, like Steelers, Eagles, Niners. Since 2002, I think there's only 8 teams besides the ones we're tied with.
What about the 17 years before that, Corey?
Anyway, hold on. Finish what you were saying.
That wasn't on the chart I looked at.
Corey likes to interrupt. Finish your thought.
So,
yeah, my bad.
This is an ownership group without Drew Brees that's never done anything.
Yeah.
If Brees wouldn't have happened,
we're still wandering in the wilderness.
We never would have even gone to a championship. And Pelicans haven't made it to a conference final.
And the closest they got
made it.
Home game 7 was with Chris Paul.
Yes.
Who's, a Hall of Fame point god.
Yeah.
The only point guard since, people weren't that trendy with Oscar Robertson, but point god. But no one else has named that.
Dude, they're a farm system. Dude, you trade Anthony Davis, who wins a championship. You trade Drew Holiday, who wins 2 championships. They're a farm system for the other teams in the NBA. They're a joke. She had a young team last year. She could have gone into luxury tax at deadline. Instead, she traded players and picks just to get rid of them to get out of luxury tax. Yeah. They're not serious about winning with the Pelicans. We know that. I do think they are serious about trying to win with the Saints. I believe that.
Saints they're just clueless.
They're the golden child.
They're just not good.
I don't think they're. I really don't think. And maybe this is like too, Pollyanna of a view, but I don't think they're unserious about winning with the Pelicans. I just think they don't know how. You're talking about like a really.
But this isn't a Pels podcast, so we don't need to get to that.
But if you're talking about the ownership group as a whole,
they are serious though. We're trying to win with the Saints.
I think
the Saints, they are always.
The Saints are always going to be the favorite child that you can't say out loud is my favorite child. Just because of how long they've been around and how much you've invested into them.
But you can't win a title without going into luxury tax in the NBA now. You can't.
Yeah. Right.
Every team that's winning a title.
That's why I say we don't know how to win in the because we haven't been around. Like,
we're dancing around it. The reality is it is a bad ownership.
You have 53 seasons, essentially, between the two, Corey. 53.
No, I know. I think what Gayle has needed, because here's the thing. I have never really been one to say that Gayle's the problem. I've always thought that, and I don't not think it, but I've always thought she's been the owner you kind of want in a way because she'll open up the checkbook, she'll help you with the roster conversions to bonuses, she'll shell out the money, at least in the NFL. I'm not talking Bells. I'm done talking Bells. She'll shell out the money where you need it to help Loomis do what he had to do when he told her, hey, I have to do this. So she went along with what the guys, like your GM is supposed to be good at bringing in players, good at maintaining a good roster, not good at maintaining a bad roster.
But don't you control who the GM is?
And that's Gayle's issue is giving out lifetime GM contracts.
It appears, though, that she's not cutthroat enough, because we should have done what Jacksonville did.
Don't ever say that again.
The GM, we should have fired the GM.
I was about to say, you want to hire Liam Cohen?
No, I wouldn't want to hire Liam Cohen.
We're not going to do anything like the Jaguars.
But I think,
did you see his Duval. You saw that shit?
There was
That guy's fucking. He was on something. That had to have been a skit, right?
Max,
Anyway,
we don't know anything about him. He could be he could have mocked, who if he went. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, that was awful. That was fucking awful. I mean, as much as I said about Kellen Moore,
You can't take him seriously now.
Cohen's worse. Like I liked Liam Cohen a hell of a lot better before he ever opened his mouth. Like when he was on the sidelines with the Bucks, I'm like, this guy's pretty good. And then he started
talking about how honesty's the biggest.
That was hilarious.
I'm like, what?
The tweet was like, I'm sure Bucks fans are gonna love this one. But my thing is, okay, so here. Let me.
I'm not putting this all on
Sorry to
Gayle.
get sidetracked.
Let me do it.
I'm putting this on the ownership.
I know. I
group.
never interrupt. I can't believe
the
you did
ownership
that.
group. This isn't just about Gayle. Gayle's only been doing this for a few years. What is it? 5 now? 6?
Well, I'm looking at Gayle right now, and when you look at Gayle, you also have to look at Dennis Lauscha because he's like the right hand man, and I think
Nick's neighbor.
Yeah, and another big voice in that room, even though his title is only communications director, is Greg Bensel. Greg Bensel is very much at the seat of that table. He's been with the organization since the Haslett days as the head of communications.
He got me in my front row seats. Don't say anything about
he's
him.
a good dude, but I would rather Bensel be the one to be in Lauscha's position and tell Gayle, like,
do you think
you need to
Lauscha-
cut bait. But I think the issue we are in right now is that Airline Drive is a good old boys and girl club. They have all been together since before Peyton, and they're all going to try to see this thing through themselves.
Right.
And that's the biggest problem.
We basically need them all to start dying.
I mean, it's good, but they're not that old.
Gayle is.
But then, I don't know. I mean,
who knows who the new owner is?
She needs to make the tough decision.
Someone said
or
they were
someone
gonna make
needs
a
to
run
tell
for
her to make the tough decision. And
Fertitta wants to.
Yeah, I've heard.
I've read an article about.
I've heard pros.
They're going to put in a bid for
who?
Fertitta.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he owns something in Houston right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he knows he can't do it now because of Gayle, but if she ever sells, he'll be the first.
Todd Graves has got the money.
Yeah, but I'm surprised he hadn't come through and tried to start that process now.
At least try to get a minority stake. Yeah. But anyway, I've been more perturbed with ownership only, and it might be premature, but with the guys declining and seemingly being to me, it seems like a Loomis thing. Like these guys that have been here before. Even
I think it's a Loomis and Gayle thing.
Was only here. For a while, I was giving Gayle a pass because, she showed that she made a decision by firing Dennis Allen without.
That's the first time,
Loomis
and
being on
I
board.
respected it.
And I was like, oh, maybe we have something here. But, if she doesn't do anything about Mickey in the next year, then I will be 100% on Gayle.
And again, he doesn't have to leave.
Lack of action.
Just promote him to some other bullshit position.
Yeah.
You don't have to fire him.
I'm not even trying to hate on the guy. He just hasn't done a great job for a long time.
Add $1,000 to his paycheck and go, hey, this is your new title. You got a raise.
He doesn't serve the purpose he had. He
hasn't served that purpose since Kai's been here. Kai cooks the books.
Yeah.
That's what Loomis did with Mueller.
And
we don't need him.
Kai's been here since, 18-ish?
No, before that.
Has it been there that long? I mean...
I need somebody from outside. Give me someone who works with Howie Roseman. That guy's a fucking genius.
I'll take Howie Roseman's secretary.
Yeah, or the guy that's with the Lions. Brad, whatever his name is. Give me somebody that's worked with them.
I'll take
Howie's been with the Eagles 25 years, so it's not a good case for our argument here.
Give me
Brad Holmes, I think his name is with the Lions. Give me that guy or give me his secretary.
I'll take a guy from MLB at this point. Show me he can.
Theo Epstein, bring him in.
I bet you Epstein could scout the fuck out of football players.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But we need something fresh. Guys who know the new game. It's just
this is why I lean more out of Moore and McCarthy. McCarthy's been in the building. I don't want that. I want someone who's never been here.
But I think McCarthy is the only chance to stand up to Loomis.
He was here so long.
That's where I'm at. Kellen Moore's going to come in and just listen. And
yeah, because
Loomis isn't quite. He's not even 70 yet, right? So he's not trying to go anywhere anytime soon.
No.
Yeah, but I do like.
But you want him out of here. You need someone to come
to your
in.
Point. McCarthy could say Loomis, what are you doing? I remember when you were a baby GM.
He ain't gonna do that. It's his fucking boss.
He's not gonna say it. He's not gonna say that out loud. But
yeah, but he's got the pelts on the wall to be like, hey, I've done even more than you.
You hear the way Kafka's talking in the interviews, and maybe it's just interview coach speak talk, but I don't see a dude like that who's desperate. This is his foot in the door. This is his opportunity, golden opportunity to become a head coach.
Has anyone else?
I don't see Kafka pushing back on Loomis. If Mickey
has interviewed a bunch over the last couple of years.
Really?
Last years,
oh my god! Talk about no resume.
Apparently, in league circles, he is very well regarded.
Great.
I don't know.
Great. His own team doesn't like him.
But yeah, it's if I don't see some significant shakeups with the front office,
You're not going to.
then
It's
that's
The
not
only
coming.
way you see that is if Kellen Moore says, thanks but no thanks, I'm staying here, I don't want the job. And then Mike McCarthy's like, you know what, we can't come to an agreement, I don't want to have to deal with Loomis doing this and that.
Look,
that's the only way.
Kellen Moore could easily pull a Joe Brady. He could say, I got a good thing going. If I got Jalen and Saquon for another season,
Yeah, easy.
I mean,
If he was smart, he should do that.
Yeah,
he should do what Ben
absolutely.
Johnson did because Ben Johnson didn't have the job
Yeah.
out there he wanted. Now, I disagree with Ben Johnson. I would have gone to San Diego if they wanted him, but maybe they didn't want him. Maybe Harbaugh was their one the whole time. I think when you can get a Justin Herbert, I'll take that over what the Bears have. So
Ben Johnson didn't even have to interview this year. That's what happens when you come back and you build
Yeah.
up your resume even more.
if he has the same year next year,
yeah.
he gets to pick his job. This year, he's talking to the Saints.
We're-
That's
Yeah. But to put a bow on, because I know we got to wrap up, but to put a bow on this whole coaching talk, we are like threading a dangerously small needle here because there's a stark reality in which Moore does what he does. Now, I think it says something that he took the interview with us when we flew up, but he could still decline.
We flew to
And-
him, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I know he's got shit going on,
Yeah,
but
he
we still
wasn't gonna
flew
fly.
to him.
He can't interview once they get here. He can't.
But anyway, the thing is,
But he could have flown here this week.
He could have come in early, yeah.
Right.
but he's preparing for a Super Bowl.
He's preparing for a Super Bowl,
But
yeah.
the thing is, like, there's a stark reality that he could back out and McCarthy could back out. Then you're the only
That's the scenario I want.
That-
I want
then
them
you're-
both to be like,
then you're
no, I'm good.
stuck with Kafka or Weaver.
No,
Those are
at
the
that
only-
point you go, Rizzi, come on.
You
or
want to know
Rizzi,
really
yeah.
what I think's going
mean,
on since we're going to sum this up and say who we want and what's happening. What I think's going on is McCarthy put a list of demands on the table. They really want McCarthy. They're really waiting on
Yeah.
Moore to leverage McCarthy to get him to where he wants him to be. I think there's a power struggle there.
Yeah.
McCarthy wants a lot because I've got 20 years experience.
deserves it, too.
I've got 10 division titles. I've won a Super Bowl.
I've done more than you, Mickey, from like
Yes.
my standpoint.
Exactly. So that's what I think's going on, but it's all speculation. None of us know, right?
Yeah.
Wait, you don't have sources like everybody
No,
else on
I'm
Twitter?
not going to pretend
Well,
to have
just
sources
make one up
either,
right
like
now.
Twitter.
Just make one
Make
up.
something up. That's all you got to do.
Just like say a source told me and then say it.
Yeah,
That's how it goes.
That's what everybody else
Yeah.
does.
I can't do it. So I think that is who they want. It doesn't mean they would be fine
Per
with Moore.
sources.
What do you want?
Personal
See
choices.
how I do
I
it?
want him to because
So you're McCarthy or bust.
not
Brizzy, backup. What's your backup?
Who's your
backup. Since Brady's out, it'd probably be Moore. Would be my second. It was Brady before that. I would have taken a flyer.
If it's not McCarthy or Moore.
Jesus. Weaver. I can't see Kafka. I just don't get.
Yeah.
Max says he's smart. That's great.
No. I said supposedly in
Right.
league
Max,
circles.
look. Let's call it what it is.
We had a huge argument.
Max just wants a bald coach. Okay, that's what
We
it
had a
is.
huge debate over
You should
Moore.
want him too.
I have hair.
We
Not
had a
much.
huge debate over Moore and Brady. Guess who's done nothing? Kafka. Nothing. You don't even have a good season to go off of.
Agreed.
Wait, so you're not
Okay, well, hold on. So you are McCarthy, and then fall back is Moore. You're fine with at that point. You, what did you say?
my order would be McCarthy, Moore, Rizzi at this point. Out of
Well, you
people
don't need a third at this point. Just
we've interviewed. Okay, McCarthy.
okay.
Before Moore.
My ideal scenario: Kellen Moore turns him down. Mike McCarthy turns him down. This whole thing blows up in Loomis and Benson's face, and then they have to shamefully hire Darren Rizzi.
It's
And then Loomis gets pushed out the door.
entirely possible.
I like
That's not
everybody
off the
does
tip.
this.
That's what I want.
It's
That's
not,
not even
going to
a
change
crazy-
anything. You're hoping it changes something, but
Right.
it's not going to change anything. So then you're stuck with Rizzi, and nothing's changed. You're
No, I want the public humiliation of being publicly turned down by their two obvious
They already
finalists
have
at this
been.
point.
I don't
No,
know.
we don't know if Brady was their top, their
I'm
second
talking
guy.
about Glenn.
We know Glenn was.
Yes.
Oh, we don't know. We are pretty sure Glenn was. But at this point, we know Kellen Moore and McCarthy are the top two candidates left.
It appears
So,
that way. Yeah.
To me, that doesn't do anything for the Saints getting better. So I'm not for that.
No, not in 2025. God, no.
Well, getting
But
better doesn't act, but then we also
Take
put
a step
getting,
back to take two forward.
Getting worse has no guarantee either, because that's not
No.
going to, that's not going to guarantee Loomis goes a damn place.
I want Loomis out of here, and the only way he gets out of here is if everybody turns him down and the team just blows up in 2025.
You see, part of me thinks that if we had one season of insane success, Loomis would want to do the sunset thing, go away.
No, he'd have to win a Super Bowl.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not happening.
It's either being horrible, or the best.
The ego's gotten
There's no
too
in
big.
between.
Well, the best ain't happening anytime soon.
Much like Max
Correct.
said with Peyton, where the ego blew up once he had the trophy.
Yeah.
And you saw him out partying. He was like the social
Or it makes the
monster.
ego worse if he gets another Super Bowl. Even in like
The same thing happened
4
with
or 5
Loomis.
He's not
years.
getting another Super Bowl. We can
The
stop
same
like
thing
even
happened with Loomis at the same time. When he won it,
Yeah.
the ego got big.
Yeah.
It
Look at what I did.
Right. It's normal. I get it. But some people are able to reel it in and win more.
Yeah.
Belichick, Reed, all these people. Some never get back. Peterson, right? There's people who never get back. What's the Baltimore Ravens coach who flamed out like almost
Billick.
instantly also? Yeah, Brian Billick.
Yeah.
There's just as many of those as there are the greats. So I just think he's here for the next few years. Hire the best person you can. Hope that person is good enough to go against him. I think the only one who'll put up a voice is McCarthy. That's why I'm going McCarthy.
All right, I want chaos first and foremost. If I have to pick out of these guys, give me the lottery ticket. Give me more. Actually, look, no, I'm going to say it's more McCarthy. They're both neck and neck. I might change my mind in 2 minutes on who I would prefer. I'll talk myself into whoever gets picked. But give me chaos.
More Carthy.
Anyway, do we have
So we got
anything
two
else?
McCarthys and a Moore. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what happens.
And Max might change.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll change mine right when we hit stop recording.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be like me when I think of that
think
awesome
that's
line.
No, look, the second we announce who we hire, I'm gonna read everything I can about it, and I'm gonna talk myself into him. I'm gonna go,
Of course.
oh, McCarthy's done this, and look at it, yeah, he's great. Or Moore, came in, and it's gonna happen. It's like we always do. The same reason you and I talked ourselves into picking Rattler was gonna win his first start.
I've never said that.
Right.
I never have had any positive takes on Rattler.
Thank God it's not recorded, right?
Yeah. And episode 85, I never said anything about not drafting a QB because of Rattler. Never happened.
Oh boy.
I'm hoping for the best. We'll just see what happens.
That was
gonna be
the
a tough few
episode that
years.
said we should cut Juwan. Remember that? Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah. No, but the thing, I'm not going to be excited, whoever we hire. It's just going to be...
No, I will get excited once I read too much, and just it'll be irrationally.
I'll be excited that the search is done. That we can just, have an off season.
No, you won't. You'll get excited. You'll talk yourself into it.
Let me ask you.
I'll readily admit I will.
I'll talk myself into... Okay,
I'll be like, oh, McCarthy's won a Super Bowl. He's won...
I'll make the
That's
argument.
easy to talk yourself
it's
into
my
McCarthy.
team. It's our team. I'll definitely make the argument for why this team can win with whoever it is. I'll
So,
do
Max.
that, but I'm not gonna be like, fuck yeah. If we hired Ben Johnson, I'd be fucking excited. Like if the cards somehow had ever
But
fallen
you're
that
only
way.
excited because everyone else was excited.
I mean, the Lions
Because
offense
you don't
looked
know.
pretty badass.
It did, but you don't know. Like he had weapons galore. It was like
Yeah.
a great situation. But how many drafts away are we from being competitive again? Assume Carr's your quarterback the next 3 years. How many drafts do we need?
You can do it with one.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. So don't give up. I think if you nail a draft and you get if you have an Eagles draft and you get two highly impactful players and some good players to mix in, you're only a draft 2 at most away.
No, you're a draft away from winning the NFC
Can you
South.
Yes.
trade for GMs?
I'm sure you can trade for
Trader
anything,
just
probably.
No, you're right. We are literally a 2017 draft or a 2006 draft away from probably winning the NFC South.
Yeah. Now you're 2 drafts away from being miserable for 5 years too. You miss 2 in a row right now, and everybody gets 2 years older. You're in deep trouble.
I think every year we say we're at a tipping point, especially post Breeze Peyton, but it really does feel like
I think we actually are. at
we
this point.
actually are.
Yeah.
Where we could very easily be thrown into pre-Haslett days.
yeah. This team is a bottom 5 team right now.
We could have 10 solid.
But a massive draft changes that.
We could go through a solid 10-year desert of Dick.
No, because
like
we were a playoff team in what 92, and then
So Dick
Ditka came on after
was 10
more or
years.
less.
92.
So Ditka
10-year
was
desert.
awful.
92 to 2000.
No, 99 season was the playoff run because it was in 2000 where the playoff game was. So we were a playoff team in 92,
7,
playoff
8
game
year.
in 93. So what, 6 years? 7 years?
years.
7.
Years. Yeah.
We're looking at that basically.
I don't think it's to the point where it's 10 years in the wilderness. Because look, we're already 3 or 4 years into it.
Yeah, maybe not
So,
10 more years. But
It's not 10 more. I mean, look, to Nick's point, what he just asked me, you could realistically win the division if you hit on the draft this year.
Yeah.
Because the division is that bad still. And all it takes is a few key additions, and they could do it.
And that's where the focus needs to be. Let's get some young. Let's try and draft well. Let's regroup. But that's why you never know how quickly something turns around, right?
Yeah.
Now, Jaden Daniels isn't walking through the door to do what happened for them, right? We know that because we don't have the draft pick.
And look, the NFL's built for parity too. So like
It is. You know,
So don't give up.
That's actually the best point.
That's my only point.
It's
Don't
built-
give up seasons you never freaking
if it was
know.
that's why like the NBA much harder, MLB even worse. At least it's the NFL. It's built for something crazy to happen.
All right, let me change it. Chaos goes to number 2. Number 1 is going to be it's 1A, 1B. I don't really give a shit. 1 up, I don't care.
More Carthy.
Sure, more Carthy.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
All right. So, you want to send us home, Max?
I am done. With that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode. Thank you for listening to another episode of the 28 to 3 podcast. Who dat?